for a car manufacturer, if somebody doesn't have anything to say about your car, not good or bad, that's just not good. And obviously the viewers thought it was immensely funny, but yeah, that was the one time that Top Gear didn't ingratiate itself to the vehicle it was reviewing, and I'm not sure they got another Vauxhall vehicle to review for about a year because of that. And I think what they ended up doing was they got a couple of vehicles. I think they deal with the manufacturer when it was just the one vehicle. But when they're doing a multi-vehicle comparison, they would generally go to a dealership and say, hey, look, any chance of borrowing this for a weekend? So vehicle dealerships are generally a little more friendly. But yeah, that was just too funny. Okay. I think for this one, oops, try and avoid the hedge, and I'm going to try and cut straight across here. And then I'm not going to worry about that little pointy bit at the end. All right, now let's go get the tractor lined up. Ooh. Back over this side, we'll try and figure out. Oh, we did all of that. It's a little difficult to tell, but I think that's approximately the right place to be. And then we just follow the row. So yeah, this crop not quite thick enough to obscure the ground, so we can make an approximate guess on positioning, so I don't need to use the GPS on this, and because we're following the planting row. Oh yeah, I mean that was the thing. I mean, a lot of people don't like Jeremy Clarkson because he's a bit of an ass, but I think when it comes to his job, he'll make light of it, but he's not going to lie, because his word affects what people do. And with the Top Gear of the structure it was back in those days, it was a car magazine show. They had a good relationship with car manufacturers because they helped to sell their cars. They were effectively free advertising for the car manufacturers. So they were perfectly happy to loan these guys many, many different cars. But and people did trust them, and that's the whole point. As soon as people stop trusting you, they stop watching you, and then your show dries up. Now, in recent years, the reboot of Top Gear, before it was taken off the air because Jeremy Clarkson's an ass and said something politically incorrect one too many times, it was more a toys for boys type of thing, and so they were driving cars that your average man on the street could only dream of owning. Totally impractical. It's not something with a rear seat that you could put your kids in, and it's not something with a trunk that you could get enough groceries to fit into a British refrigerator. So, it was less what it used to be. I mean, I watched Top Gear has been around as a show since the late 1970s, and they even, back in those days, they even had a guy who was a former used car salesman, now an auto journalist, and he wasn't on the show very frequently, but when he was reviewing used cars, and really useful for your average guy looking for a car. If you want a car, you can't afford a new car. This guy was brilliant, and he would tell you, he'd pick out good used cars that lived better than the average. One of his segments that he did, buy a used Rolls Royce, and this was in probably early to mid 80s, and he did a review on a 1972 Rolls Royce, and he said they're about the same price as a large Ford, the Ford Taurus. It's about that size, about that price, but you're getting a Rolls Royce, and they're usually well maintained. Owners of Rolls Royces don't treat them badly for the most part. So he said, it's a good buy. It's gonna last you forever. And it's got the walnut trim and the leather seats, which you don't usually get with a 10-year-old used car or 15-year-old used car. And you can drive down the highway and look really cool in your 1972 Rolls Royce. And kind of amusing, but it's probably something that your average guy just never thought about. Most people are looking at used Fords, used GMs, at least in Europe, Renault, Peugeot, Citroën, used Volkswagen, just your average run-of-the-mill family car. They don't look at the luxury cars because I can never afford one of them. But Rolls-Royce is going to cost you a little bit more to maintain, probably. It's going to be a little bit more expensive on fuel, since they tend to have a larger V8 engine than the four-cylinder Ford or GM that you might be buying second-hand. But it's one of the reasons why, we were looking for an SUV. We decided on the Saab, because the Saabs, if you think of your average Saab driver, they're really not into trashing the vehicle. You pay that much, you're going to take care of it. So it's generally going to be in a better condition than, say, the equivalent Trailblazer, just because of the type of person who would buy one. And we're not looking for brand new vehicles. That's ridiculous. We probably drive about 15,000 miles a year. We sometimes need two vehicles, and both vehicles we've got have been cared for fairly well, and so it's not. There we go. I was wondering when that was going to happen. And so long as you look after a car, and I think both of them will probably last longer than I do. And I'm not planning to go anywhere anytime soon. Now, it might be that, one or more of them end up with serious mechanical problems. It's a story of Saab back in 1978 or 1970s. American on the roll salesman. You drove it, and he drove it everywhere. And he'd hit many deers in the lifetime of the vehicle, and he hit one and took it into his mechanic, and his mechanic looked at the car and he just basically said, you probably want to give up driving this one now, because you've driven it so much, it's been so far, corrosion has set in, and if your car looks at another deer, it's probably going to fall apart on the side of the road, so it's time to replace it. And they did all the math, and they basically said, well, it's done over 1 million miles, so they sent all the information off to Saab in Sweden and said, look, we've got this car, here's the service history, can you certify it? And they said, sure. And so the car was certified as 1 million miles driven, and they put it into a museum, and the guy got a new car. Don't know what car he got. I can't remember. It was one of the car magazines I read back in sort of 2005. But there you go. Yeah, no, I haven't found much problem with ours so far. I don't know about normal Trailblazers, but the Saab 9.7 is an all-wheel drive. The 9.3 isn't. When it snows, I generally have to turn off traction control, which is totally... it's not really the logical thing to do. Hey, it's snowing, let's turn off the traction control. But the problem with them is if the wheels start spinning, then the engine management reduces power to the wheel that's slipping. And so you end up just slowing down until you stop. And then the car won't get going because it can't get any traction. If you turn off the traction control, then you can basically spin the wheels and get a little bit of traction. And that works out. At least it worked out for getting into our house that we used to live in, because it had a steep driveway, so every time it snowed, the car would just stall out halfway up the hill and just wouldn't go anywhere. So just by keeping the wheels spinning, it didn't reduce power to either of the two driving wheels, so you could get enough traction from one or the other to keep the car going. Just keep the engine revs up. Yeah, I did, and I used to do a lot of driving in the 9.3. Michigan winters, and it was always funny to see all the guys in the four-wheel drives just hauling past you on the highway, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know what, there are these laws which Isaac Newton discovered, which you're really trying to break as you're driving at that speed down the highway on icy roads. Your traction is not any better than mine. The only advantage you have in a four-wheel drive is you might be able to get moving slightly easier than I can in my two-wheel drive vehicle. But when it comes to stopping or turning or anything else like that, we're equal. And I'm not pushing my vehicle as much as you're pushing yours, and you think the four-wheel drive is just going to save you. It's just going to get your car out if you end up in a snowdrift easier, and you still might be stuck, so don't do it. And Patchwork, good morning and welcome to the stream. Yeah, I haven't figured. I can't say I've figured out how to turn off traction control on the 9.7. The 9.3 is easy-ish. But there are a lot of vehicles out there where you just cannot disconnect the TCS, and that's kind of a problem where I'm, as far as I'm concerned, because sometimes the TCS just not ideal. It works against all of your what's the word for it? All of your needs at a given time. Okay, so that's the first line. I was going to speed up time. I forgot to. But anyway, we'll clean this thing off again. Let's turn that off. Jump out. Hi, dog. Okay, you're going to sit and watch me wash the tractor. Oh, he's gone. Yes, not a very interactive dog. A lot of the time, you see dogs on YouTube, you get a hose out and they're there trying to grab the water. Anyway, let's get back in this and park it up. Yeah. And that is a deal. I think I had a Subaru Impreza. I think that had a TCS button on the front, on the dash. So it was really easy to turn it on, turn it off. The Saab, you have to, it's a selectable on the user-controlled part of the programming. So, programming your language. I have the, what is it? The speedometer. I don't have the kilometers an hour illuminated on the dial, which is a user-controlled option. I can turn that on and off myself without having to take it into the dealership to reprogram. What I can't do is reprogram the door locks to open all or open one or whatever. At the moment, ours, if you press the unlock button once on the door remote, it will unlock the driver's door, or you have to press it a second time to unlock all of the doors. So, sort of a standard setup, but you can change that so that, if you're driving a car that you've got a large family and you always want all of the doors unlocked, you can have a dealer reprogram your door opening computer controller thing to unlock all the doors when you press the button once, or you can have it so that the doors automatically open when you stick the vehicle in park or not. So there's all sorts of user controllable things there, but one of the ones on the Saab 9.3 is you can turn on and off the traction control, but you have to be doing less than 5 miles an hour in order for you to change that setting. Okay, I think since we're here, I might get the bucket and clean up the grass. That's the postman around for a second time. That's interesting. Oh. And I called the my UPS uninterruptible power supply manufacturer yesterday, and between us we've determined that my battery's screwed, so I'm going to be getting a new battery either today or tomorrow. Probably, sorry, not today, not tomorrow, Monday. Probably Monday. And, yeah, it went kind of, that's not really what I wanted to do. Let me try that again. Okay, let's tip it back the other way. There, yeah, it's... oh, darn. You know what that means? That means the... speed up time a little bit. The sheep trough is full, which is why I can't tip. But yeah, everything on the UPS and the controller software that does its thing, yeah, it tells me how it's behaving and tells it when there has been basically there's communication between the PC and the UPS so that I can see what things are happening and what the charge rate is, and it's reporting it's 100% charged, 85 minutes of life. Okay, that says I should be able, oh, I probably have to run around the back. That's what I'm doing wrong. Yeah, 85 minutes of life before it shuts down. The problem is we had a power failure last week and I got all of 20 seconds before the entire thing shut down. So, let's say, new battery on the way. And I will be much happier when we get that. Okay, so that's the sheep taken care of. They have a good supply of food. There, put that down, drop it, and back up. Don't go too far back. We'll close that, or we'll put some more water in for them. Do that, and climb back in the tractor. So now Arthur was, I think it was Arthur was saying something about the CSC pack being problematic. I haven't figured out any issues with it yet. But, they keep patching it every once in a while, so who knows. Anyway, that's that one done. Option I do have is to replace this with a don't park close to the weight. Replace this with a slightly larger, maybe 130 horsepower small tractor. Don't need one though. Okay, we are where we are. Time is moving along. Oh, we have a contract to collect on, don't we? Yes. Yay, money. And Field 9 still wants to be bailed, but I don't have all the equipment you need for it. I've got the mowers, but it's the wrappers and the balers. Well, we've got baler, we just don't have a wrapper. So I would have to borrow the items, which reduces the reward by 159, but it does give me... I don't know. Where's Field 9? I have to get all the mowing equipment out though. Field 9 is... oh, that's up at the top of where we just baled, or where we just did our farming stuff. That's the sheep field, that's the cow field we cut this morning, that's field... I don't like the size of that field. That field is too small. The problem is you risk ending up, you need 10 bales and there's enough, or you need 9.5 bales and there's enough grass for 9 3/4, and to get 9.5 you need 10. So I don't touch small fields for contracts. How much is that? We don't have any money, but that field's 46. That one's 126. And that one's 62. Hold on, that's 126? Good grief. So as we start getting sheep, there may be the option of buying some of those smaller grass fields to supplement hay production. Just have to see how many sheep we end up with. So do we have any grains in store? No, we sold all the grains. That's fine. What's the price of wool? Price of wool. Still kind of high. Looks like it's dropping. We could let's go and sell some wool, because selling wool is good. We'll take the Valtra. Not the Valtra, the Vent. I mean, wool's not worth much, but we are kind of on the poor side at the moment, so selling some wool at what, maybe 700 litres per crate might be a little bit helpful to the farm budget. So we need to attach that, detach that, and ding, there we go. Very, very useful trailer. I think I bought the round bale creels last week as well, just because I can afford them. But for lugging round, what is it? Wool, we don't need any attachments, and it's also usable for square bales too. Dog, you're in the way. Budge, come on. There we go. Millennial farmer this week, he had what was it, his fertilizer trailer had fallen over, well,